we follow the time strictly, so usually we give 5 minutes of the buffer time. So thank you very much for joining today's session, HR in Crisis Management. So when we talk about HR and crisis management, this is one of the very, very interesting topics. I would say that every day, even though it's not during MCO, we receive a lot of crisis. Just only a few minutes ago, before I log into the system, because I joined as the advisor for many of HR group. One of the person that asked me, I'm not sure whether you can read this message. Okay, can you read this message? I read it out. Sorry. So I don't want to disclose the name. Can you see? Can you read the message? One of the person that let me see. You see? This is what we call a crisis management. I haven't had time to reply yet. Okay, let me read it out for everybody. Okay, one person tell me. Okay, one person asked me, Dato', I have a question. We have a staff working from home under customer service, and lately she has been later to log in to call. I read word by word, yeah, and keep saying her internet connection is bad, family issues, and sent her show cause letter. She didn't reply, and today she sent photo of her team leader showing kena abuse from her parents. They beat her for something. Her eyes were all bluish. What to do in this situation? Even though during MCO, crisis management happens every day. It's not only during post MCO. And I believe that post MCO, you will encounter more issue. For example, one of the person that work in one of the factory in Ipoh, they are under essential service because they are producing the chemical for the factory, for the factory. So the employee tell the HR saying that I don't feel comfortable to come to work because everybody is having MCO. But why should I go to work? I don't want to go to work. So they use because during that time is the 15 days during the 18th until 31st of March, the minister said that it is compulsory to pay the salary, and the HR is having this issue saying that the culture influence, so meaning that I'm one of the worker. I will say that I don't want to go to work, so I will influence my another friend. Hey, why should you work? Another car factory also, they closed down already. So why only we go to work? Not work. So why? So and also the machine and the factory have to keep on. It's moving. You cannot tell them to stop it. So in that case, how should you overcome this issue? This is one of the areas that you will need to foresee. It could be after the MCO. Again, very fast introduction. Let me go to introduce our expert or our guru today, Mr. Danial. Mr. Danial was a former general manager, Northern Region for HR Consultancy Sdn Bhd, and has been a HR consultancy for more than 20 years. As a HR consultant, Danial has been involved in various HR consultancy projects as project manager for clients involved in property management, pharmaceutical industry, manufacturing, medical services, IT, media, okay, logistic, insurance brokerage, and others. So his vast experience is would bring us to share with you that how to manage crisis today. Okay, so before I pass to Mr. Danial, so just a bit of update also, because of this during this MCO, we found out that a lot of HR is actually do not know what to do, and also because of the top management not giving them the right final direction yet. Okay, for example, today they say, oh, I want to cut 30% of the salary. Tomorrow, oh, I feel that it's a bit too high, right? So the next day, 30% is too little. So I want to have 50%. So I would say that as a HR, so this might be the crisis that you will undergo. Because of that, just to share with you some of the initiative that has been started with CBMRA. One of the CBMRA, we are doing a research on the new platform of learning and development for the trainers. So I will share this link in the in this group chat. I hope that for those HR here, CBMRA needs your help to deliver this link to all the trainers that you know, so that we can come up with a new framework for the trainers to follow. Because with this current environment, so after post COVID, we call it as the low touch economy. What is low touch economics? Meaning that people try not to have any body contact, or try not to have any of the face-to-face if possible. Everything goes online. So because this will suit those 20 plus years old, okay, the strawberry generation, but for some of the senior manager which is 50 years old and 60 years old and above, so they need to adapt to this kind of environment. So because of that, even though for training industry, so they need to change. Okay, so how fast you are able to change will determine your success of your organization. Okay, so I will post the link later on. Please help me to send to the contact that you have for all the trainers that you have. All right, thank you very much. So with this, I pass to Mr. Daniel. Thank you very much.
Hi everyone, good morning. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah, morning.
Everyone hear me?
Loud and clear.
Wonderful introduction by Dato. It's a very wonderful introduction by Dato, and the way Dato put up the situation in a moment, very clear. It's a very confusing time for all of us. And when we talk about human resource crisis management, it's not about the HR department or HR managers only. It's about organizations in general working your people resources. The fact is, COVID-19 has totally impacted the global supply chain. We are either directly or indirectly impacted by these events. It depends on what industry you are in. The impact is so great that every pillar of society has been touched by this virus. How do we move forward, right? And previously, with our two speakers or the two sessions we had before, we spoke a lot about what we are going to do during the COVID-19 period, and also the post-COVID-19. We find that, should I say, we're heading to a very uncertain period in our time. Let's talk about some economic realities here. The slides are not moving as fast as I am, so just bear with me for a while. The whole world is in a very uncertain limbo at the moment. We wake up every day, we really don't know what's happening. We are not sure what's happening. The MCO period has no end to this. We really don't know when is this going to stop, or when is this going to be rectified. We don't know that. Business is not going to be as usual anymore. This in general, whatever business that we are in, it's not going to be the same anymore. There will be a lot of stress upon managers, business leaders, especially HR leaders. There's going to be a lot of stress, right? Significant number of SMEs that are going to be facing shutdown. Reports and studies show that in Malaysia, 24% of SMEs are shutting down. That's a big number in terms of unemployment. Spike unemployment. This is another stress on HR. Who do we keep? Who do we let go? This is a situation that we are in. Next. Government system may not be sustainable if situations prolongs. The government has gone above and beyond expectation in this time of need. Financial assistance to SMEs, financial assistance to the workforce, financial assistance to the families. But ladies and gentlemen, there comes a time that this will stop. What do we do then? How do we do ourselves? There is a formula that we can go on in the industry that you are in. So let's look at this crisis management. Crisis management, the reasons for crisis management is because of pandemics like COVID-19, where organizations need to have ready-made plans. If you don't have, need to build plans to mitigate and navigate out of this crisis whenever it happens. Not necessarily COVID-19, but what happens after that, after that. So we need to have all these plans in mind. The first thing that comes to mind is business continuity. It's not just about the business, because the business needs to continue. If we need to employ people, the economy needs to move. The economy needs to multiply. So we need businesses to continue. We need to remain competitive. How competitive we are.
Mr. Daniel, sorry to stop you. Because the line is really bad. Could you please continue this without your webcam? Maybe the connection will be a little bit better if you don't use your webcam.
Sure.
And there could be something wrong with your microphone or your headphone, because there's a lot of background disturbance.
Is it clear now? No.
There's still a lot of background disturbance. It could be your mic. It keeps on shaking.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
There's a lot of background noise. It's better. It's a little bit better now. Thanks. Yeah, you may continue. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right. Okay. Let's continue. All right. Where did we stop just now? We were talking. Let's just do the whole. Let me just go through the whole slide again. The reason we have crisis management, ladies and gentlemen, is to manage and mitigate situations like the COVID-19 that we are in at the moment. Organizations should be prepared. We need to have a proactive plan. But in most organizations, the fact remains that we don't have a pandemic response action or management plan, right? So this actually puts us in a limbo when we are hit during pandemics like this, right? Hello? Can you hear me? Can you?
There's static noise.
Hear me?
Mr. Daniel, just now was okay after you did something. Halfway after that, it became the same problem as earlier problem.
Okay, so now is it clear?
Yeah,
Is it clear now?
It's clear. Clear.
Okay. Very sorry. Very sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Technology sometimes takes the best of us. Okay. So moving forward, why do we need business continuity? It's not just about a business alone. It's about the employees. It's about the community that is dependent on the business, like vendors, suppliers, and everyone in the ecosystem. Then we look at remaining competitive. To continue the business, how competitive are we? That is something we need to really, really seriously put our mind into it. Next, we need to look at employee well-being. How are we going to, shall I say, take care of our employees? Because their mindset is very, very, how should I say, employees are facing a lot of stress at this point of time. What do we need to do? We need to preserve organization. Is someone else speaking? Am I clear?
Something is wrong.
Is it clear?
No, something is wrong. There's a whooshy sound like that.
What's that? What? A whooshy whooshy sound?
Yeah. Okay.
Is it still there? Is it still there?
Yeah,
No more?
I'm here. No, it's okay.
Yeah, we are still here.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it clear now?
Yep.
Okay. Moving
Much
forward.
better.
Now. Okay. All right. So we were talking about focusing on employee well-being and to retain key talents, which is very important. For us to continue the business, we need to have the right people or the most suitable or the right number of people we need to have. Now, next, what do? We need to preserve the organization's capability and competitiveness, meaning to say, how competitive are we? How can we compete? How is our cost management? How is our employee continuous learning? Are our employees learning? Are our employees adapting to the latest technology? Are they learning to the latest skills that's required for the business to move on? Are we diversifying? So we need to look at all this. How are we going to preserve our organization capability? All right, the talents that we already have. Right. Moving forward, human side of the crisis. When we talk about COVID-19 or any pandemic that happens around the world, it is a human crisis, right? And businesses collapse, countries collapse. It's the people that's affected. So in any crisis, the one biggest side in every chain you look at, either business owner, government, how should I say, workers, society, it's all about humans. It's all about people at the end of the day. So how do we do it? What do we do during this time? Like I mentioned earlier, supporting business continuity. What do we need to do? Working with management to align the human resource action plan to business strategies, meaning to say, how many number of people do we need? Where do we outsource? Where do we automate? All these kind of actions, right? We need to do. Next, ensuring all actions are compliance to Employment Act 1955 and the Industrial Relations Act 1967. Ladies and gentlemen, most important thing that we do is whenever we do anything, it has to be fair. Now, next, moving to managing employee anxiety. At this juncture, when I talk to people around me in my society, with my clients, everybody is only worried about one thing.
Dan, so
Can you hear me?
ada conference. Dia
Can you
kena.
hear me?
Ya.
Okay. A lot of people.
Sorry. Aku tengah conference. Ada 4 orang. Aku cakap dengan kau, aku tak off mic.
Excuse me, you need to mute your mic.
Okay, muted.
Okay. Can I continue? Uncertainties, job insecurity, reduction in income, all this puts a stress on people, right? How do you manage this anxiety? So this is something we need to look at, that when we are talking to our employees, it's just not about one person. We need to look at what is the whole, the bigger scope of things, right? We need to look at that. Next, remain competitive. What do we need to do? We need to be prudent in our cost management. Continuous learning must be in place. Performance must be driven. Productivity must be driven. So what are we going to do all this, right? We need to come up with action plans. We need to change our whole, how should I say, whole business management, because business is not as usual anymore, ladies and gentlemen. We need to look at how are we going to go, not just to survive, and how are we going to grow from there, right? Moving on. Employee engagement. In this time of stress, the most important thing that we need is engagement. Employee needs to believe in us. People need to have hope. People need to have a way forward that things will change. And when things change, these are in place. So whoever is in charge of HR leaders or managers who are in charge of HR, the most important thing you need to do now is engage. Get the employee to engage with you. That's the only way to move forward. moving further. Let's look at the employee's reality here. When we talk about change in employment status, okay, reduction in income, loss of employment, job insecurity, this is what we see on the surface. But when we look further, what does it really mean? It means change in lifestyle, downscaling, scaling down, household groceries, utilities, children's education, medical, unable to provide service loans, unable to pay insurance premium, and a lot of other things. Income families which are earning 2 income now shrink to 1. It's going to put a big stress on the people. This is the reality, ladies and gentlemen. What we see is on the surface. Talking about unemployment, talking about salary reduction, this is on the surface. But we as managers or leaders of the organization, when we look at anything that we want to do, we must look at the bigger impact, right? The change in lifestyle, right? The inability to service loans, the inability to send children to proper schools, the inability to send children to tuition. All this puts a big stress on the employee. Now, right? What do we do? During the MCO, we already know what we cannot do. We cannot terminate employees. We cannot reduce their salaries. We cannot put them on unpaid leave, nor can we ask them to take annual leave. These are things we know what we can do, right? This is the legal perspective. Now, from the people perspective, we as managers, our leaders, what do? We need to look at activities during MCO which are employee focused. All right. While we are at what do we do? Work from home, new arrangement, right? Depending on job types. Can the driver work from home? Can the cleaner work from home? So we need to look who can work from home and what value or high value do these people working from home deliver to the company, right? And we need to ask ourselves, when we ask people to work from home, do they have the infrastructure to work from home, right? Do they have internet connection? Do they have proper laptops? So when we ask people to work from home, we need to have all this in place. Do we have a work from home reporting structure like what Dr. Liu raised this morning? Someone called in and asked, this person working from home but not reporting in, and a lot of issues happening. Do you have a work? Hello? Hello? Can everyone hear me?
Yes, go on.
Yes,
okay.
we can hear you.
Right.
Mr. Daniel, I think that if you hear any disturbance, you just continue. We will mic all people sound. And from time to time, I'm going to type out who are the person that do not mute your mic. Please look at the chat.
Okay.
If your name is mentioned, means you didn't mute your mic. I'm monitoring now. Thank you.
Everyone, let's continue from where we left off. Activities during MCO, which are employee focused. Okay, let's look again, just a quick repeat. Work from home. It's not just about working from home. We need to understand if they have the right infrastructure. Do we have the right reporting process? Do we have the right control measurement in place? How do we gauge an employee's performance? What is good performance? What is bad performance? We need to have all these check and balance in place. Next, communication. Ladies and gentlemen, in this time of stress, the most important thing is communication. We need to keep talking to our employees. So we need to have a clear communication framework, meaning to say, who do we call? The person in charge of which? Who do we call for this? We need to have that a proper framework for employees to refer, which makes it easy for them. So in this time of need, they need to, you can't keep passing them to everybody. They need to know specifically who they can call. So this is very important, the communication framework. Third, employee engagement. How do we enhance the engagement during this time? Well, the most important thing is now we have got all kind of things that we can do with social media, online learning, WhatsApp chats. We need to constantly inform employees what's happening, right? We need to tell them what's in place. What is the organization planning to do? If we are not going to terminate, we are not going to retrench, we need to give the assurance we are not going to retrench. If there is possibility we are going to retrench, we also need to engage with the employee to tell them what are we planning. This is important, ladies and gentlemen. You don't want people to be surprised. Nobody likes surprises, and that's what leads to a lot of disputes and disagreements. Next, last but not least, during this lockdown, learning is very important, like what we are doing this morning, right? This is very important. We need to encourage and also have a framework in place to coordinate online learning. Again, this also depends on job types. So how do you engage the different job types? Which media you need to use to engage job types is very important, right? So you need to figure out where is the learning going on, because this is about business continuity. When we open, do not worry so much about the resources that you're unable to use at this point. You know, your bosses might be saying, oh no, all these people who are paying salary, they're doing nothing. It's not their fault. This is not their fault. Okay, the situation is as such. If you're not able to go out, you're not able to go out. If you're in the essential industries, fine, you take action. But those in non-essential industries where you cannot go out, okay, you just do not have to think so much into why they can't do anything. Focus on how do you engage them. So the most important thing is engaging them. So you have a lot of media, social media applications and platform for you to use and engage with your employees, and continuous learning for different levels, which is very important. So children today, you know, in lockdown, children are getting school homework from the school. Colleges are using online. Every other organization is using the online platform to continue continuous improvement, right? Okay, forward. Let's look at the company's reality. What do you see on the surface? Loss of business, loss of revenue, facing losses, potential shutdown. This is on the surface. But what's inside? Manpower costs, retrenchment benefits, salaries or salary payments, fixed costs, utilities bills, collection from customers, unable to service loans on equipment and property, unable to pay insurance premiums. The company also goes through a big stress. We need to understand this. But the company, regardless which industry you're in, regardless what sector you're in, if you are in government, you are in GLC, you're still impacted, right? But as a business running on profit and loss, ladies and gentlemen, this is the very survival of the organization. So when we look at it, this is our role to explain and to look at the big picture. The big picture is the company also is suffering, right? If you have a company that's managing 20 employees, there are 20 families dependent on the company, right? And I see here in our participants today, we come from various industries: hospitality, automotive, car dealerships, many types of industry you all are from, and all of you are impacted by basically revenue, right? You are in a situation where you are affected by revenue. Revenue is your survival is, you need to sell to survive. If there's no sales, you don't have anything to do. So what do you do from management perspective, from the company perspective? What do you need to do during these activities during MCO? As HR leaders or operational leaders, you need to have your action plan for the post MCO. What are we going to do? If you don't have a plan, if you did not have a plan, this is the best time to get one going, right? With all the chat groups, WhatsApp, work together with your colleagues, work together with management, come up with a plan. What are we going to do? Potentially, this may not be the best plan, but you need to have a plan when the MCO initially comes to an end. Next, legal. At this point, look at all the legal avenues. If you're going to do retrenchment, what do you need to do? What are the things you need to find out? What are the regulations or labor regulations that you need to look at? Find out from industrial trends. If you're in the hotel industry, look at what other hotel players are doing. If you're in manufacturing, find out what are the other manufacturing boys are doing, right? If some of you in unionized organizations, talk to the union, right? Talk to your union, engage with them. This is the time to engage, not to fight. Because at the end of the day, both want the outcome, the same outcome. What's best for the people? So there are a lot of things to do now. Need to prepare yourself for the coming eventualities. prepare. If you're going to go for salary restructuring, what are you going to do? Which levels are you going to look at? Right? Which areas are going to reduce salaries? Where are we going to? How many percentage are we going to reduce? Which level gets how many percentage? The higher you are, the more you need to cut. Okay. Right. Next, manpower restructuring plan. Here we talk about manpower reduction. Right, skills and expertise needed to maintain that need to be maintained. Identify new skills and knowledge that is required for the companies when you reopen. If you want to diversify, you want to move into a new business venture, what do you need to do? What are the skills you need to equip your people? You need to have this plan ready. You can't have it after you open. You need to have it now, my dear ladies and gentlemen. Right? So, in summary, you need to be prepared for the organization. You cannot be doing things on trial and error. You need to have a plan in place after this. If you have one, maybe you need to retweak it, because you may have a plan, maybe you did it during SARS, if it's already in place, maybe you need to relook at it, because the COVID-19 is a new ball game altogether. The impact is totally different. So we need to look at that. How good is our crisis management plan, and what do we need to change? Okay. Moving forward. Business focus. Where do we focus when we're looking at business continuity? Right. Most importantly is your customers. You need to have your customers' trust. That means you need to maintain your brand's trust and consistency. You cannot fall off the planet. You need to manage your brand image, right? If you are the reason being, you need to give your customers an assurance that you are an organization that they can rely on during good times and during bad times. If you're a vendor supplying to an industry, you need to maintain your customer relationship. Similarly, if about your customers, you need to manage your customer expectation. You cannot shut down during COVID-19. A simple example, my mechanic, recently I could not start my car. It was COVID-19, right? He actually arranged for a tow truck to pick up my car, right? At no extra cost. Repaired the car, informed me the next day what time I should come and pick up the car in the morning, to avoid, because 3 p.m. they close the shop. Little things you need to do to enhance your customers' experience. Now, MCO doesn't mean you need to keep quiet, right? Cost efficiency. Where are you going to cut? Right? You need to cut. The fact remains. I mean, there's no point ignoring this. The fact remains. You need to cut. So there's a lot of things you may need to cut in terms of your expenses. One of the major things, sadly, the biggest cost you need to manage is your labor cost. So you need to understand where you're going to cut. You need to be prepared for it, and you need to. It's not about cutting alone. You need to manage it as well. Okay. Next, innovativeness. Like mentioned by Mr. Ui and Mr. Jeremy in the earlier webinars, business is not as usual anymore. The new norm of doing business is a new norm altogether. It depends on the society, on the industry that you're in. You need to be innovative, right? And you need to focus on result driven, right? You need to get away from the old way of doing things. You need to be result driven, and everybody in the organization needs to be engaged to this. People need to innovate to bring down costs. People need to innovate to be productive. People need to innovate to be different. So organization needs to drive that. And one of the things that Mr. Jeremy mentioned in our first webinar was entrepreneurial. The way to look at it is intrapreneur. All your employees need to have the intrapreneur mentality. They need to have, it's not about what's in it for me, it's what I can build for me. They need to understand the organization grows with them. That's what I'm going to say in my next point, growing together. This is the time that people managers, organization leaders need to really get the buy-in from employee to grow together. We need to get employees to fully grasp the fact that their growth and the organization's growth are very, very much integrated. We can't live without the other. So we need to know this very, very well, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, now, next one. right? Let's look at MCO planning. And no, we talked about what we are doing now. Let's look at what we need to do after, probably April 28 or maybe at a later period. Whenever it happens, it's going to happen. Okay, so we need to prepare ourselves. So what should we cover in our post-MCO planning in terms of people? Let's put the business strategy, let's put the financial strategy aside. Let's just look at the people strategy first. Okay, now the first thing we need to look at is return to work procedures. We need to ensure all employees returning to work are free from COVID-19 infection, including procedures to manage employees returning from overseas after the MCO. So ladies and gentlemen, we need to know what kind of medical screening we need to do, what kind of process is in place, when do they go for the screening, when do they go, if you are opening on 28, when do you send your people? You should be sending them now. Employees, actually one of the things you should do during MCO is get all your employees to go and get themselves screened to ensure that they are not infected. So this is a process that must be started immediately. Next, cleaning and hygiene procedure. What are you going to do to disinfect your organization? Regardless, even if you're a small 2-room office, you still need to disinfect your office. You need to clean up. Are you going to just clean it one time? No, you need to have a schedule. You need to do this proactively to make sure you are providing your employees a safe workplace. Next, the social distancing policy. Business starts, we need to start business. But how are we going to keep our employees from, when I say, in the office, when there's such a small space, everybody mixes, there's a lot of chance of people being too close together. So how do we distance people? How do we actually put a process or workflow in place? For example, the photocopier, only one person at a time. What is the distance that needs to be kept? What is the procedure to even use the photocopier? We need to have a plan in place, even to pick up printing, everything, meal times. What time do we go for break? Do we send everybody to lunch together, or is it a staggered break? Where do people go and eat? What is the lunchtime arrangement? Are they allowed to leave the office, or is food delivered to them? So all this needs to be in place. Okay. Next, and the most important thing is clear guidelines on general personal hygiene and behavior. And in this part, I should congratulate the hospitality industry, because hospitality industry, one of the most important thing is personal hygiene. So there's already practiced there very diligently. So people in the hospitality industry, kudos, well done, right? So we need, every organization needs to have a personal and hygiene policy, how employees should carry themselves, even when they are not well, what they should do, when they are having certain ailment, what they're supposed to. So all this needs to be in place very well. Next, we look at revised operational SOPs. New work arrangement, new work procedures has to be in place. Because, ladies and gentlemen, we cannot be going and doing things blindly, because as I said earlier, where's the check and balance? What is the control? What is the results that we are looking for? What are the KPIs we are going to manage? All this is dependent on the SOP you are going to devise. That's very important, right? So we need to look at every aspect of the operation. We need to look at, if someone is working from home, how is it managed inside? How are the results driven inside? What reports need to come in? When do they need to come in? Right? So everything has to be in place. Next, we look at driving performance. New way of doing business, new targets, new KPIs. Business, you cannot measure someone the same way you did before. You need to have a new way of measuring them, new measurement metrics, right? And is there a ready-made formula for this? No, ladies and gentlemen. This is all dependent on the industry that you're in. How are we going to take your current performance management system and how are we going to align it back to the way you're doing business now? It just takes a little bit of tweaking, that's all. All right. So it's not a very major move, but you just need to know very clearly where you want to head. Okay. Next, continuous improvement plan. Whether we like it or not, ladies and gentlemen, capacity building is very important. we need to build and make the organization strong. We need to make this organization flexible. We need to understand what are the new skills needed. If we are going into diversifying into different business, what do we need? We need to continuously improve our people. We need to continuously use different platforms to enhance our employees' knowledge. We have a lot these days, ladies and gentlemen. We have Zoom, we have Google Classroom, we have many online applications available to use at a very minimal cost. I'm not promoting online learning, or I'm not. I'm just sharing what are the resources available for you. Right? Moving further. Post MCO, this is just getting a bit more into the detail, just to give you a brief on how we can do this better. Okay, so post MCO HR cost cutting for salary reduction. Right now, what are the most important thing we need to do? Number one, transparency. We need to share with our employees our current state of affairs in terms of our finances, our cash flow, our business, where are we, what have we lost, and what is our current state of business, right? We need to be very, very frank with employees, right? We need to tell them that we are not doing this to make money, rather we are doing this to save the organization and save their jobs, right? We need to tell the employees we are ensuring you employment. We are not going to retrench you. That is very important. But this measure has to be taken for us to move forward. Because failing so, we need to retrench. We need to be very clear with this, ladies and gentlemen. There's no nice way of putting this. There is no any other way of putting it, but as honest as possible. People appreciate that. Regardless whatever positions they are in, people appreciate honesty. Right? Now, next. Start from the top. For example, if you have, let's look at 3 examples: management, executive, and non-executive. Now, let's say we do a salary adjustment. Who takes the bigger cut? The management. Right? If management takes a 40% cut, executive maybe takes 30%. Comes to the non-executive level, maybe 20%. Because why? An executive salary, a comparative in salary, the margin will be really impactful on a lower ranking executive. Imagine someone earning 2,000 taking a 40% pay cut compared to someone earning 10,000 taking a 40% pay cut. Big difference, right? So we need to really understand this, because organizations, this is a fact, and in all my experience doing audits and when I do salary benchmarking, we always find out a lot of organizations are top heavy. Salary percentage, for example, when you have operators to 2,000 over operators, their salary is still much lesser than the total management salary. So we need to start from the top, ladies and gentlemen. This is a fact in a lot of organizations, right? So we need to start there. Again, according to job level, right? If you have to follow the job level and do to be fair. Next, the percentage that you need to reduce salary, it has to be the most minimum amount. It cannot be at, like Dato mentioned just now, it cannot be 30% today, 50% tomorrow, 40%. No, it cannot be like that. It has to be very, how should I say it, bust with the bare minimum. Because when you send your PK form to JTK, that's what they will look at, right? Is this fair for someone earning 2,000 to have a 40% salary cut, which is almost 800 ringgit, right? So is it fair? So this is where we need to be very clear the percentage that we are deducting. Even into the high position, you need to look at what is the most workable percentage. You need to look at that. Okay. Now, communicate this back to all the employees and get their mutual agreement, i.e., this is the percentage of salary that we are reducing, right? By reducing this amount, this is how much the company can, how should I say, how much this is going to help the company move forward for how long. So we need to have this in place. We need to get the mutual agreement, because ladies and gentlemen, if there's no buy-in, then you're going to have another different set of problems, right? Employees will be unhappy, there will be resentment, there will be a lot of issues coming up. So this is very important from the very first, from the beginning. This has to be clear. That's why transparency is very important, right? Now, next, last but not least, all right, your salary reduction must be in compliance with JTK regulation. If you go now, Google and look at the Employment Act, there's a lot of PDF available online. When you look at salary reduction, when you look at that, you look at how should I say, the amount of regulations put in there, and you need to comply to that. The most important thing, ladies and gentlemen, regardless the industry you are in, you need to be fair. It needs to be fair for both employer and employee, meaning to say you need to really how should I say, talk to colleagues in other industries, talk to your colleagues in the same industry, see what they are doing and benchmark. All right, don't look at just cutting costs, but look at the big picture. All right, so this is very important. You need to follow the JTK regulations. The forms are there already. You can download, right? You can check, practice how you can do it. That's and there's no, how should I say, check and balance. These are things you need to come up. So this is where JTK makes the check and balance. All right, okay, let's go. Next one. This is on HR cost cutting for survivor, retrenchment, right? So why does retrenchment happen? We do need to retrench, right? When it comes to the point that we have no choice, and for example, hospitality players, don't get me wrong, right? I'm just going to mention you as an example. Imagine hotels, when they reopen after the MCO, are the hotels going to be full? No, we don't know yet, because the whole world, the whole travel tour industry is affected. So how do hotels move forward, right? You need to do some trimming. Retrenchment is unavoidable unless you are how should I say, financially very strong. Very good, great, alhamdulillah. However, the reality of the situation is retrenchment is unavoidable. You need to. Okay, so when do we retrench? We retrench when there is redundancy. So how does redundancy happen? Part closure of business. For example, if you have 5 branches all over Malaysia, if you're going to shut down 3, the people in the branch need to go, right? So that's how you look at it. Next, business closure altogether. If you're closing your business, how do you move forward? It's not about just closing the door, putting a padlock and saying we are closed. No, we have our responsibilities as employers. Next, why does redundancy happen? Outsourcing. For example, if you have like you have already got drivers or dispatch riders working for you. At this time, you may not be able to afford it. You need to outsource. So that group of people need to go. So when you shut down something, people need to be retrenched. For example, HR people, don't get me wrong when I say this. Okay, if in HR, let's say you're going into automation, digitalization, right? You may not. You want to outsource your payroll. You want to outsource a lot of things. You may not need that many people in HR. So you may need to retrench. So this is important. You need to understand how this works. All right. Now, do we just fire people or do we give them options? Retrenchment is always the last option. After you've done your salary reduction, after you've done all other cost-cutting measures, right? You have done all cost-cutting measures, then you get your, you come to retrenchment. So when you come to retrenchment, do you just simply fire everybody? No. The fair way to do it, or the right way to do it, is offer voluntary separation scheme. Now, why do you do this, ladies and gentlemen? You see, there are some people you want to keep, there are some you don't want to keep. For example, you may look at the age factor. Someone in the 30s you may want to keep, someone in the 50s you may want to let them go because they might be retiring soon. So when you offer VSS, it's an open option, right? And you can explain the pros and cons of the VSS to employees in a transparent manner. So give them the options to be whether they can leave or not. The next one would be mutual, where you work out a separation scheme, where apart from the retrenchment benefit mentioned in the Employment Act, you come on with your own above the standard requirement, and you come up with a term, a proper severance agreement, right? So you need to come up with a good scheme and to get people to go. And this is a good scheme also. This is also based on mutual and also volunteer. The third one, this is the most difficult one, where you have to choose who goes, right? And this is the sad part, right? You really need to be very clear about the organization's business plan. Where is the organization heading when you want to do termination? All right. So something normally the standard practice or what is mentioned in the labor law is you need to follow LAFO method. That means last in, first out. But ladies and gentlemen, this does not mean the most junior employee in the entire company has to be retrenched first. No, but the most junior employee in that category. For example, if you're cutting down employees, if you're outsourcing HR department, employees in HR will be affected, not the finance department. Sorry, outsourcing finance, HR won't be involved. So you need to look at that way. For example, in your engineering department, you want to do retrenchment. The most junior staff in the engineering department. So we need to look at retrenchment in that manner. Okay, so this is the most difficult, but this is something that has to be done. But the most important thing is it has to be done in a fair manner. There mustn't be any ambiguity between you and the employee, right? There mustn't be element or any dispute in there. The employee feels that they are underpaid or they are being unfairly terminated. So this you have to manage it, as I said earlier, transparency and continuous communication. Right? Moving forward, right? Examples of termination and layoff benefit calculations. I put some examples for you to follow, just to look at, right? For example, if someone is earning 2,000 ringgit, right? And how do you calculate? So basically, it's 10 days for less than 2 years, 2 years to 5 years, below 5 years is 15 days, and 5 is 20 days. So look, that the calculation is there for you to refer. It's a simple calculation. This is how should I say? This is the calculation. This is the Employment Act standard that we need to comply. Right. Next. Similarly, this is an example again. How's the calculation done? Coming to the last part of our presentation, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Moving forward. Hold on. Okay. Key takeaways. They're coming to the end. You can have your questions later. Key takeaways. Right? Business is not as usual. Right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the fact. Business is not as usual. As managers and leaders, we need to look at how we are going to solve this. Sometimes you can't get all the information yourself. Talk to your colleagues in different industries, right? Talk to everybody. Network with other HR people. Find out what to do. Because at the moment, there's no hard and fast rules on how you're going to do things. Most important, fairness. Next, in any crisis, the biggest impact will be the human side. If you're a business owner, you're the management, you could be the board of directors, you could be the employee, you could be the vendor, in anything, even the family members, any crisis is all about human, right? Last but not least, whatever actions you take during this time, whether working from home or after post, whatever you're going to do, please focus on one thing: act fairly. Right? You have to act fairly. As a responsible organizations, act fairly. I just give you an example before I go. A small hotel operator called me recently, and he told me, you know what? I just opened my hotel. I've been operating for 4 months, and I'm going to shut down, but I'm going to retrench all my employees. And I'm going to give them only some token of appreciation because I have not give them then the employment letter. This is not fair, right? If you don't give an employment letter, it doesn't make any difference. As long as the employee can prove that you have employed them, you are still liable to pay compensation. So in this time of MCO do the right thing, do the right things right. Do not try to go around the law. Do not try to cut everywhere. It creates more problem for the organization. It creates ambiguity. It creates resentment, and that's one thing you don't want. When you want to move forward, everybody has to be on the same page. People have to believe that they are moving forward. You need to build that confidence in them. So maybe in the next series when we meet, we will talk further into how do we cut salaries. We look more of the technical details. When it comes to retrenchment, how do we do retrenchment? We look at the technical details. For now, my dear ladies and gentlemen, thank you for spending your time and enjoying this webinar. I hope it's been fruitful for you. And there are Q&As coming in. If you like to ask us questions, you can do now. Type in your questions. And it's been a pleasure talking to all of you. And it's very, it's a privilege to be given this platform to share a little bit of what I know with all of you. And I hope it's been fruitful to you. Thank you to Humanology and CBMRA, and of course, most importantly, Dato, making this happen. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much. First of all, before I open for Q&A session, so a bit of house cleaning and also announcement I'd like to make. First of all, I would like to thank Puan Asma from Altel. Okay, after discussion with her and CBMRA decided to help all the HR to come up with by using AI, a type of software to help HR to answer any legal action. Because according to one of the very experienced HR that I know, Puan Asma from Altel, she shared with me that okay, currently the practice is that so you have to get a face-to-face or writing, or you have to get consultation for MEF. Whereas by using this method, it might take quite some time, and also the process would cost you a lot of money. So because of that, we are in the middle of developing the standards according to JTK, and also we involve JTK in this project so that in the future, let's say for example, like I would like to do VSS. What is the step? Click, 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 click. So all the forms have been filled in. Let's say I would like to I want to recruit a person. So click, 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 click. The offer letter will be out. So I want to give bonus. So click, 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 click. So everything will be out. So we try to automate the whole process of it. So again, I would like to thank Puan Asma for giving us the idea, and also I would like to thank Puan Asma for sharing his experience with us to help the development of the industry and development of HR. And of course, I would like to thank also Puan Donna for having the highest participations in this for this group. So with this, I would like to invite everybody, if you have a question, either you can type or you can unmute your mic to ask any question. From now, you may unmute your mic now. Thank you very much.
Hi, I have one question. What would say an do you hear me?
Yes, sir. Who is this?
Ernest Balasingam.
Your name, please. Sir.
Ernest Balasingam. Ernest Balasingam.
Balasingam.
Yeah, because there was a problem with the internet, so I have to use my mobile phone this morning. So just very simple question. If an employee is earning 1,200, okay, the minimum wage, what you say if we are going to do cost cutting, and I say, okay, those who are earning 1,200, can I still do a cost cutting across the board at say 10% or 15%?
Well, again, sir, the Employment Act is very clear. Business owners are allowed to see what is right for their business, right? But for those, and you can do this across the board, as I mentioned earlier. Maybe at that level, maybe if it's, let's say it's 15% across the board, maybe at that level it could be a bit less because the impact is bigger on them.
I'm just throwing a question just to ask whether even with the basic minimum wage we can still do a cost cutting.
Yes, sir.
You know.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Because I mean I'm from the legal background and I run my own legal firm and I've got 4 officers and I need to look at this strategically because because I've got Teluk Intan. I mean, we have different offices with different in different locations, from Ipoh, Penang, KL, and Teluk Intan. So the dynamics is actually different. The cost of living is even different. So it won't be, it can't be sort of across the board, and so that's why I just need just this thing on the basic wage. Then I can work on the dynamics of the other salary structures within my organization.
Thank you. Good feedback, and thank you for your question, Mr. Ernest.
Yeah, thank you for your answer.
We welcome more question, please.
Hi, Donna here. Hello, everybody.
Donna.
Actually, texted my question earlier. Mr. Danial, do you agree that during this MCO period, the HODs should also play the role as mini HRs in terms
ma'am.
of
I totally agree
communicating
with you.
employee engagement as well as monitoring? Yeah.
Ms. Dana, normally, I mean, in every organization, actually the HOD, remember when I said in my presentation, the communication framework, right? The HOD should be the contact person because this is their direct reports, right? So the engagement must be also equally strong from HODs as much as HR. Does that help you?
Betul? Yes, definitely.
Can you hear me? Yeah?
Yes.
It's the right thing to do.
I just wanted to validate my thought.
You're on the right track. All right. Anyone else?
Thank you.
One more question. Okay. Anyone else? Anyone else? Any more questions?
We will open the session until 11:45. So anybody would like to ask questions, so you can type at the side, or also you can on your mic. So we will continue to on the session until 11:45. Thank you very much. We start to develop it now, so we hope that everything will be settled within 6 months. Of course, we hope to settle, because this one is more towards legal. Is from the pay slip as well. Only the pay slip itself, there is a requirements. For example, recently we had a discussion with JTK. This is something very interesting. Just while waiting for the question, yeah. So I asked JTK. Okay, if most of the HR, we are using a system to pay salary and generate pay slip. What happens when they do audit? If they find out that the pay slip do not fall under requirement of the law, under the labor law 1955, so how it would JTK take action towards a software company, or they would take what is it called, action towards my company? The answer is JTK just only take action towards your company, and you have to take care of your software company. So meaning that your vendor, yeah. So meaning that as a HR, so during this MCO and after this MCO, one of the things that you should review your salary slip, and also all other documents. Yeah. So not only salary slip, because even though offer letter, there are certain requirements according to the labor law actually. And not only that, there are so many ads actually. Let me read it out. Yeah. Okay. So okay. There are so many ads that we have to look into. For example, let me read it out now. It's not only the labor ad itself, but okay, for example, you have to refer to the Employment Act 1955, Employment Regulation 1957, Employment of female conductors Regulation 1958, Employment of women shift workers Regulation 1970, Employment Minimum Rate of Maternity Allowance 1976, Employment Termination and Layoff Benefit Regulation 1980, and also there's a list of the regulations that you have to look into. Okay, so there's one question from Puan Asma. Okay, just an opinion. It is advisable for organization to consider tactfully the business and organization needs prior to making any forms of layoff, salary allowance deduction. These especially apply to manual labor and those in the ambit of Employment Act. So anything you would like to add, Mr. Daniel?
Thank you very much. And I would just like to add on to what you just said, ladies and gentlemen. The acts are already there. You just have to comply it. It's even more difficult to go around it than complying it. So be fair, focus on the act, just to save your stress. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr.
Could I ask just one more question? Since people are talking about JTK, because we haven't been able to get any sort of clear guidelines. I'm more concerned about issues on retrenchment and termination. I think as soon as the MCO was announced on 18th of March, many companies have taken the liberty to terminate employees and start retrenchment exercises already. The problem is, what I just want to know is, when does the 60 days start, in light of the fact that the offices are closed and you can't intimate a complaint?
Okay, you mean when is the official shutdown to calculate the 60 days?
Yes, I mean, now with the shutdown, when does the 60? But if you're
18 March, the first one.
If you can't access IR departments to intimate a claim, so when does your time run?
This is a special situation, lockdown. There are how should I say, leeways. If you look at their sites and all that, there are leeways for you can look at, even for employees to go and make a claim. They will, because of the situation, the speciality of the situation that we are in now. The act is there, everything is there, but they will accommodate at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
There's one question from Ahana. Hi, Mr. Daniel. Is there any recommendation for us to refer on the policy or procedure for post MCO planning?
Okay. As I think I mentioned in my session just now, your planning pretty much depends on the industry that you're in, what you need to do. So the framework that I gave just now, you need to look at business continuity. Where are you moving forward? What is your direction? Next, for you to follow that direction, how do you remain competitive? What are the things you need to put in place? All right. Next, you look at number of employees. What are you going to do in terms of your manpower, in terms of your manpower efficiency? Right. Then you look at your, last but not least, your driving performance and continuous learning. So your post MCO plan should cover this as a basis. Okay, and dependent on the industry, you add in where you need to add in, but these are the basic structure you need to have in place. Does that help, sir?
If anybody have the issue with the JTK, so maybe you can private message me also. For those who need help, you can send to me personally in the send me the personal message in the group chat. I will reply you with my phone number. Thank you very much. This is Dr. Leong. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we will come for the last question. Thank you very much for those join.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you. Thank you.
So I will officially close the session. Thank you very much for joining. So hope to see you tomorrow for the next session. Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Thank you, Mr. Daniel. Thank you, Dato. So I will
Thank
close
you
the
very much,
session.
everyone. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bye bye. Take care and stay safe.